Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Living Your Keys IRL in real life. My name is Liv Wickedly. I'm a newer face for the team here. Maybe if you were in Star Pearl, you saw me on a couple of calls. I had the privilege of being invited, and it was so wonderful. I'm doing some more. And I'm really excited because I've been given an opportunity to do something a little bit different in this session and the sessions that I have the privilege of hosting for our retreats coming up next year, which is to really focus on as practical an application of this tool as possible. It is very chunky material. If you have the book, you've probably seen it. It's like an encyclopedia. We have so many courses, so many offerings. There are 64 audios. There's a lot of material to sift through, and it can be very, very overwhelming. Sometimes overwhelm's really great, and then sometimes it can stop us dead in our tracks. And something that I've probably about a decade of getting to play with this tool is there's really no right or wrong. And it gets to be this really, really fun place where we can really express our humanity, the things that make us uniquely who we are, while also staying connected to the we, the collective, the unit. It's a really beautiful place to hold both, which I always love. There's so much nuance and complexity, which is beautiful. And at the same time, I'm looking at this crazy chart. How do I apply it to my life? So I'm actually kind of curious how many people are new to the gene keys. If you're like entirely new, it would be great if you just typed in the chat, just so I have kind of an idea where everyone is. And then before we really get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, especially since I'm a bit newer here, but it's also very relevant to the topic today. Do we have any new people? It doesn't look like we do. Okay, that's great. That's great. So everybody's been introduced. Okay, here we go. We've got a couple new. Well, welcome, 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 welcome. We are so excited to have you. This is a good call to hop on because we're going to talk a little bit more philosophically how to approach life through the keys, and then you can kind of, be inspired to dig a little deeper if you feel that that is for you. Okay, so just to share a little bit about my story before we get into actually interacting and talking about these things. I was introduced to this tool as I have been introduced to so many wonderful and profound things in my life by my mom. She actually, this is about 9 years ago, got very excited. She and I had been doing corporate coaching together for a while. She's actually who trained me in how to hold space and show up for people, meet them where they are, support their transformations. And she got very excited when she found this tool. And she brought it to me and she's like, Limp, this is it. She puts this giant thick fat book on the table with my profile. And of course, this is my first time seeing it. And it's a bunch of circles with a bunch of numbers and a bunch of lines. It was a little overwhelming at first. And then my eyes started scanning the actual words on the page. And immediately I became very offended, is probably the best way to put it, a little reactive to a piece of paper because there were some words on it that I did not like. They were catalytic at best and triggering at worst. And they were the words arrogance and superficiality. I immediately was like, how rude of this piece of paper. How dare it tell me that I'm arrogant or superficial in any way whatsoever? That's not true, which is true and not true all at the same time, right? Like, I am not just one element of myself. And also, according to Gene Keys and also my lived experience now, those are energies that I play with a lot, that show up in my life a lot, that are here to teach me quite a lot. Luckily for me, at that point in time, I did know in my own personal development that the things that trigger us, the things that bring up resistance in us, are not things to turn away from. They're things to soften into, to expand, to allow to move through. And take what resonates, leave what doesn't. So I begrudgingly and also excitingly at the same time decided to dive in. So I read I read most of the book, which was overwhelming. And then I got really excited when I went onto the website and discovered they were running an activation retreat. And it was one that Richard happened to be on. He doesn't get on all of them. So I got excited about that too. And I hopped on a call just like this, joined the retreat. And here I am now, 9 years later, having the opportunity to get to talk to all of you. Now, I think the thing that I love to hold space for and co-create with people when I am introducing them to this tool. I've been a guide for a while now. And when I work with people and this tool, we really focus on the tool being a context for the content of our consciousness to play in. And when I think of a context, it's not a focus point. It's not even necessarily something that we're paying a whole lot of attention to. It's something we're existing inside of. I think the easiest metaphor that I can access would be to say a context would be like a cup, and then the content would be the water. The water is held by the cup, but the water's not sitting there focused on the cup, thinking about the cup, worried about the cup. The water's just being water inside of it. And that's philosophically the foundation of how I've really played with this tool, is to consider it, like each little gene key can be its own sandbox. Every line can be a tool inside of this sandbox. Like there's a lot of different ways to approach all of this. But what I would really love to do with you all today is talk through some very real world, very human experiences you're having. That's the content. Let's focus on that first, and then sit with how can you take this content in the context of this tool, your gene keys, and start to play with your humanity with some guidance, with some stability, with some sense of how to perceive the feedback you're getting from the world through a singular tool. So that way you're really starting to synthesize what you're seeing. And in my opinion, catching patterns. I think catching patterns is like the most powerful thing about using this context, is to really watch yourself as you go through these ebbs and flows in your life. So if anyone feels brave enough, you are welcome to either post a question or a comment in the chat. Or if you are feeling really brave or like you would like to interact directly, you are welcome to raise your hand. And Emily, our lovely events director who is tech hosting this call, will bring you up here and we can just talk back and forth. Very casual, very much like you and I were having coffee together. And we can just kind of chat about what's going on in your life and how Gene Keys can help you or support you. Oh, yay, we have a raised hand. Hello, Lynn. If you want to unmute yourself, I'd love to just hear from you, and you can share with the group maybe what your name, where you're from, and we can riff on what's going on in your life.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Should I put my video on too?
I would love that if you are open to that. If you're not comfortable with that, that's also okay.
Yeah, it usually doesn't make me go through a step to do it. So give me 1 second while I figure out how. Oh, well, I'm not seeing it.
Okay, it could I'm not a Zoom or live streaming expert. It could be a limitation of the technology.
Well, yeah, and I usually have my video on, but today I didn't have it on when I joined the meeting. So, yeah, we'll just go with this. But lovely. Thank you for being here and offering this. I love
Oh, my
it.
pleasure. Great.
Yeah. So I guess instead of a question, I would just like to kind of commune with you about the
Mm-hmm.
practicality of our profiles, because I'm in my 70s and I just found the Gene Keys 2 years ago, and they kind of brought together the culmination of my life's spiritual tendencies, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a writer, and I've self-published three books and am in the process of I'm a dreamer, and so the Gene Keys is so essential to this process. And I always like practical tips on how to bring it into my everyday life to, come down from the mountaintop and go to the village.
Hmm. Yep.
And so I am always looking out for tips on that. And I spend about 2 to 4 hours a day writing. And most of that writing is either about my dreams or about my relationships and how the gene keys are supporting that and what I need to look at. So I guess really, I'm just trying to commune with you a little bit, Liv.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this and congratulations on all of your writing. That's amazing.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, I've actually found that active writing can be a really beautiful way to interact with your gene keys. And there's so many different ways that can be done. Something that I really love to do when I'm thinking about creating more practicality in my life and connecting it to this tool is the feeling senses of the keys, which, you look at the piece of paper, it's like, how am I feeling this? And that to me is the path. Like, what does this key feel like in me? How do I know when I'm in an experience of one of my keys, no matter what frequency we're talking about, whether you're in the shadow, that lower frequency band, or you're in your gift, or you have the opportunity to touch that city and remember the all. How does it actually feel sensorially in my body? Now, the beautiful thing is gene keys actually is connected. So each placement, each sphere, so like your life's work or your evolution, there is a body part that it's connected to. So that might give you, a cue of where to focus your consciousness. But something that I have done before is through writing my gene keys. I don't know if you have this experience when you write, but sometimes when I'm really in flow and I'm writing, I actually do have body sensation moving through. Like if I'm writing something that feels a little fiery, there's a sensation in my body connected to that. If I writing something that feels expansive, I might feel that, like my chest opening up, and really kind of bridging that gap between what my mind is percolating and how my body is responding to that. That's been really huge for me. So maybe a writing practice could be. All right, I'm going to back up really quickly. Something that I heard someone say about Gene Keys once was really powerful for me because I also enjoy writing. They talked about the key itself being like the actor, like the main character in a story, and the line that's connected to it being the plot. So when I heard that, I just got very excited. My imagination got excited and I thought it might be really fun. What if I'm writing this character, right? Like my life's work, for example, that top sphere for anybody who's new. If that if I were to write about a character that like has this going on, like this is the main characteristic that they're really capitalizing on in whatever story I want to write, what does that look and feel like? And then through the act of writing, how is my body responding to what I'm writing? The point of that being, the more I've connected to the felt sensation of my own keys, the easier it's become for me to feel what's happening in real time. And when I feel what's happening in real time, I have access to more agency over the way in which I'm responding to a situation versus reacting, or after the fact reviewing and then seeing, oh, I did this here, and this is my shadow of arrogance and my shadow of superficiality playing out. How did any of that feel to you?
Well, it's interesting that you should say that because after having compiled my dreams for about 15 years and then integrating the Gene Keys wisdom from my dreams, and it's the same wisdom, and just being able to see it through the lens of the Gene Keys, I have come to a place where now my dreams, instead of having to write them down all the time, they are embodied
Mm.
more. And I think that that channel was open, that ability to do that was opened by the gene keys, and sitting with them and musing upon them in conjunction with my dream wisdom. And I love that you talked about how you feel it in different places in your body, because just like 2 nights ago, I had this dream where I felt like before I had the dream, I was musing, going to sleep on some places in my body that where I was feeling a little tension or anxiety. And I was breathing into those places. And it was 3 different places in my body. And two of them were on my right side and one was on my left side. And I could identify it through my breathing into it and becoming aware of it, just exactly where they were. But when I breathed into them, it was like I just was giving them space and nothing came to me about a clearing or anything. Well, I went into a dream right after that, and there were 3 shadows in the dream that I was able to like hold up to the light, to for want of a better expression, because it was I could hardly put it into words. And I felt like when I woke up and unpacked the dream that I had actually released those shadows from my body, released past pain, past memories of fear or whatever it was, had been taken out of my body. And so, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Ah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And what I hear when you're talking about this description is really that, like, if we take it to a very body experience, you're rewiring your nervous system. You're creating these new pathways consciously so that when you are interfacing, that becomes the norm. You know, that what's it's a really popular term, what uh, fires together, wires together. So when we sit in contemplative practice, and for you, you were using your dream work and the keys, and for me, contemplation isn't just of the mind. That's one of the reasons I love this tool. It really is the whole, all of
Mhm.
you, every energy body, every cell. It's all of you really soaking in and receiving this transmission and feeling all of it. And I found the mind is kind of the weakest place where we have these experiences. It's a very flat experience, so I love that you're bringing in the dream work, right? Because that speaks to, you know, the parts, some more energetic pieces, the technology of the body and the mind coming together and really transmitting these beautiful images. And I think there is a really beautiful demonstration here of what might seem like, oh, she's just sitting there doing dream work and she's da da da, but you're actually sitting in your body, you're breathing into it, you're creating this wiring in your nervous system that says these things all connect. These things are all places where I want to expand. And slowly, with practice over time, that just becomes the way that you are, which is what you were describing. So this
Mm.
is a beautiful thing, and I love that you shared that. It is very practical. And I think mixing art and imagery and breathing and meditation all together, those are anybody can do any of those things and they work really well.
Yes. Oh, lovely. And one more thing I wanted to add about the embodiment factor is that for years I have worked mainly on computer. I started out journaling my dreams by hand and journaling my journals by hand, but then I went switched to computer because there was so much and you can edit and blah blah blah. Well, I just moved to a new place where I really want to be outside when I journal, and I can't take my computer outside. And so I have switched back to longhand journaling. And I can't tell you how much that aids in the embodiment of the message.
Mm, yeah, that's beautiful. There is actually science around that, if you will.
Yes, of
There is
course.
actual
Yeah,
between,
right.
you know, this part of your brain, you know, the animal part of your brain, the subconscious, where your dreams are coming from, and the writing.
So,
Yeah, that
yeah.
was beautiful. Thank you so much, Len. I appreciate you coming up and sharing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Looks like we have another hand. Yay. Okay, I think there were some questions in the box. Okay, Jacqueline.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hi. I don't know why my camera's not on there. I don't know if it's just like the option. But as long as you can hear me, I think we're good.
Yes, I can hear you.
So nice to meet you. I can see you clearly. You have a beautiful
Hi.
shining face. Hi, and I love your
Oh, thank you.
tattoos,
Thank you.
especially the know thyself. I have a
Mhm.
quote. I have a chest piece too, and it says, "To thine own self be true." And it's been
There we go.
such a lifelong lesson of just really just knowing myself and being true to myself through a lot of trial and error. But thank you so much for calling on me. A little bit about myself. I just started the Gene Keys back in November, so very, very new. And I kind of like was called to just start with my spiritual quotient because I was dealing with a lot of just like, I guess, just like triggers and trauma and things that were keeping me looping in these stories. And my spiritual quotient, if I can remember correctly, because it's still also new to me, um, is I want to. I know that, so here's where I'm at right now. I really hit hard on my spiritual quotient. Oh, it's a 64.3, which is illumination, imagination, confusion. But what I came to find out through hitting that super hard was that a lot of it ties into addiction and a lot of learned patterns, a lot of just learned coping mechanisms. And I was like functioning and becoming exhausted to where I got the shingles. And I just turned
Mm,
38 years old. And I'm learning a little bit more about like my radiance too. I'm kind of taking it slow, but like it really sat me on my butt. And it kind of like forced me to see how I was just going in these learned coping mechanisms of just addictive tendencies, which tied into like really deep traumas that I experienced at a really young age. And I experienced so much breakdown so much breakdown and just like a lot of grace for myself. Because it was really hard to look at myself and just like be a witness to that. Be a witness to the trauma, be a witness to, you know, these patterns that I learned were passed down to me through my genetics because I see it on both my paternal lineage and in my maternal lineage. And so it allowed me a lot more space to breathe into that and witness fully without the judgment. And um, it's just allowed me a lot more space to kind of let go of those things. And then I was kind of sat on my butt. I had this massive like crash out or break down, and I say it was a crash out because it was a good 2 weeks of just like solid crying, just and I'm crying over things. I'm crying over my relationship with my parents. I'm crying over, what was done, what I had experienced at a young age, and then crying over like the way that I've coped for so long. I just had my birthday on the first, and I was like, okay, like I finally feel like I'm accepting myself fully for where I've been, what I've learned, how I had learned to be, and realizing that I don't have to be that way anymore because it was just automatic. And so, I guess right now, like where I'm at with the gene keys, I feel like I've really been able to kind of embody that spiritual quotient, and truly understand um, where, those shadows have come from, the shadow of confusion, and just like realizing how I kept myself stuck in there. And so I don't know if I really have a question right now. I'm just more so like, where do I go from here? I've kind of been, I know, like working through my radiance, like you have to go through the spiritual quotient and the evolution. And I feel like I've been sat down. So I have all this pent up energy. And my life's work is 9.4. I'm invincibility, determination, and inertia. And I've realized it's like, oh, when I'm sat down, like that anxiety that's underneath the surface is almost constantly there and it's been there for a long time. And so now it's finding productive ways to slowly take the first step to move out of that in ways that are healthy. For me, that is, whether it's moving my body in a certain way, doing breath work, and a lot of it is just like within my physical body. And I'm like, wow, like, um, being able to surpass or just transcend the physical ailments or even just the anxiety that's there. And I'm like, whose anxiety is this? I know some of it is mine, but then it's like I look at my mother and I just like, oh wow, I have so much more compassion and understanding for my mom and just like what she's been through. And, so it's just been very eye-opening. Going through
Mhm.
this and it's a lot too. It's a lot and I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I'm just going to go where this leads me, feeling stuck or feeling like, okay, I'm being sat down, getting the shingles and getting sick and feeling like completely exhausted, which is part of my radiance is 40.6 and like the shadow is exhaustion. And I'm like, okay, I've been giving myself a lot more grace and permission to just take it slow. And getting the shingles, I got it on my head. And every time I got upset or I felt anxiety coming or I started to worry, my head would burn and just like feel like it was on fire. And I was like, if this is not my body telling me right now to just calm down, you'd like sit down, stop everything. Like this right here is just telling me to just stop and let it go or just like allow it to pass. And so it's just been such a full journey already that I'm just like, oh my gosh, like um yeah, I'm just like so amazed and at just like everything that I've feel like I've already kind of known. Um, like just this deep knowing about myself, but to kind of have a little bit more understanding, a deeper understanding and guidance, has been super helpful.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing so vulnerably and also happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that you chose to raise your hand and share this because it took me a while to come to this place in my journey with the Gene Keys. And something that I think this tool can really inspire is for us to really look at our relationship to everything, our relationship to what's happening internally, our relationship to what was, our relationship to the tool itself. And actually, one of my favorite people of all time and one of my favorite teachers, Elijah Parker, who is, in my opinion, there's no Gene Keys without Elijah, just like there's no Gene Keys without Richard. Um, he really talks about how everything is. He and his friend Russell talk about how everything we experience is our relationship to that thing. And that for me ended up being where I was really starting to find the truth of how I'm relating to the world. So there's something to look at and observe in one that your gut instinct, your intuition, what you were compelled to do was go right for your SQ, right? There's something about the version of you that chose to do that. There's most likely, because you are an entire whole human, a lot of light in that. There's a soul calling to go do that. Your intuition was like, this is where you need to be. And because you're human and shadow is a part of it, there are probably some distortions that were driving that, right? Some distortions that wanted to be seen, that wanted light shed on them, and going right there immediately offered you opportunity. A little bit of a unique case. My evolution is 64, so I have deep, deep, deep understanding and knowing of that confusion up to illumination experience. And I can say what I've learned, especially with confusion hanging out and teaching me a lot, there is so much medicine in pausing, which is a huge, huge, huge component of the philosophy and path of Gene Keys, which is pausing. And sometimes, because of the patterns we've been in, the conditioning that we have, life has to set our head on fire. So we pause, and I want to just encourage you to keep listening to that pause. I have noticed it takes so much longer to get out of the pause than my human mind thinks it should. And confusion doesn't doesn't really disappear. It's like a fog that lifts. It's not something that you're just going to alchemize that. It's going to be something that requires stillness and requires continuing to learn to go inward and care for whatever part of yourself is expressing a hurt or a pain or a karmic lesson that you're here to really expand into. So I'm curious, like when you're thinking about like what do I do next, where is that coming from in your human? Where does that energy feel like it's existing if you can feel that in your body?
Thank you for
The
that. Well,
Yeah.
it comes from the learned sense of obligation and responsibility that in order to bring worth or to bring quality or earn your keep, you have to be constantly going. And I've definitely come, I'm a mom too. I'm a first-time mom and I have a 3-year-old and I realized just like, oh, okay, so I burn myself into the ground because I don't take those pauses, even though I know and I feel within me that I should. My body screams for it. And it's a lot of conditioning. Um, just just from yeah, I guess just conditioning. What I've been conditioned and programmed to believe is that, there is no downtime. And so allowing myself the rest, um, to actually take the pauses. And I've been using the Triple Flame app, which has actually helped
Mhm.
significantly. Even just for those short 3 minutes, and the 3 minutes seem to go by super fast. So I'm like, okay, should I jump up? Like because sometimes it doesn't feel like it's long enough for me, and I can just sit there even afterwards. But yeah, it comes from a lot of deep programming of like, I have to, parentification, I have to take care of all of these things before I can allow myself the pause because everybody outside of me has needs first and foremost. And so that's something that I've really had to acknowledge. And it's like, oh, I've been doing that for a very long time. Like
Yeah, yeah.
even prior to having a child, I've been doing that because as a child, I was forced to do that. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, like we're going way back. We're going
Yeah, so
way back to this.
yeah, what I would suggest, because you've had a very strong body response, you seem to have a lot of clarity and awareness um, about what's happening in your system. I would ask, if I were you, what is my relationship to this sense of obligation? And when I say relationship, like I literally will think about it like a lover, because it's all inside of me and I am love. So everything I'm doing inside of me must be love. So if this sense of obligation, this parentification, this thing is something that you love, it is a lover, right? And it is also trying to love you back. What is that relationship? Do you relate to it in a way that is toxic for you? Do you relate to it in a way that is expansive for you, right? And to just observe those things and always, at least this is what I do, I always am asking in the back of my mind, what's the invitation here? What is going to what is being invited of me into this space that feels crunchy and scary and difficult to witness? Knowing that you are both the witnesser and the witnessee, which is interesting and difficult to do, but also where the juice comes from, right? That's where you had your breakdown to get to break through. It feels like when you're speaking, you're in this like kind of liminal space. You had this big breakup of all of these things. You had this giant witnessing, a huge somatic release, a crash into some rest. And now there's like this liminal space that I think is offering an invitation. It just feels like maybe there's something there. And so pausing is a deeply powerful, embodied way to really allow the practical elements of the gene keys to come through, because they'll come through in desires. They'll come through in, I want more space for this. I want to say this to this person. I don't want to live here anymore. This job isn't working for me. Like it'll come through in a desire, and it needs the spaciousness to do that, and your willingness to be patient for the clarity so that you can hear that, so that you can feel that. And I would really just encourage you to just remember, like, there's no rush, there's no finish line. This know thyself journey is forever. and getting to the next roadblock to break that up faster doesn't actually do anything. In fact, a lot of times I've noticed the faster I move, the more work I leave for myself, the farther behind I end up being. The slower I move, the more thorough I can be, the more I'm actually allowing the keys to come alive in my cells, to come alive in my voice, to come alive in my sight, to come alive in what I'm hearing and how I receive. And I love this for you, especially as a new mom, as a parentified daughter. I also was one. The discomfort of pausing and stillness and silence is the best medicine. Like, I don't care how bitter it is, like, chug that shit. you know? Yeah, yeah. That's what I would offer you. And welcome to the Keys. And it sounds like you were really ready for this work because you just something in you knew, and it went for that SQ on purpose. So, just allow the journey to move you. You don't need to do the moving. It will move you. You will feel it when it's time. You will know it when it's time. You can trust that in yourself. You've gotten this far. You're going to keep going.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you
work.
so
Good work,
much.
Jacqueline.
I super appreciate you saying that. And I definitely just like one last thing, t saying, "Oh yeah, I've been sat on my ass." Like, physically like it was like after I had that major crash out and I literally got the shingles the next week. And it was like, okay, it's like crash out, so much grace, get the shingles, sit on your ass, and then it's like I lost my job. So it's like, oh, okay,
Power moment.
everything's everything is crashing down right now, and the person in me wants to go, go, go and like solve and reach for how I want to force things to happen. And so, right now I'm in this space, like the liminal space, like you were saying, I'm in this liminal space where I'm just here and I'm feeling in the direction of where I want to go because now I have so much more opportunity. Don't get me wrong, the first 2 weeks I was like, crying my eyes out and I was like, what am I
Yep.
gonna do? Oh my gosh, like my energy's not there. I can't even show up for myself. I can't show up for my family, and I just like I had to take the pause and I'm still taking the pauses, as my energy increases, but I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, here we go. I am at this new precipice of like opportunity and I'm feeling where I've not allowed myself to go before and maybe take the tiny steps towards those things that I've said no to in the past. So, thank you so much.
Beautiful. Yes, beautiful. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Thank you. It was so nice talking to you.
You too. Okay, we have time for one more raised hand. And maybe before I answer the raised hand, I do see Beatrice has a question about her life's work and how to go on about it. Can I shed some light on how I can apply this? My recommendation to just start out is to observe yourself, to just observe yourself and to start marking patterns that you feel connect to the words of your key. I am not of all of the presenters that do Gene Keys, I might be the least technical. I don't know. I feel like all my coworkers are very technical and they know all the code on rings. And you give them a key and they can tell you what the dream arc animal is attached to it. It's really impressive. It's I'm not that much of a physicist here. So I don't know exactly what the frequency bands for 53 are. However, I genuinely believe the first place to start with any transformational work is awareness. Are you aware of this key in your life, how you express it? Do you see it in the world outside you? That's a really beautiful place to start. Do you see? So, for example, we were just talking about the confusion shadow. When I was playing with the evolution key for the first time, I just straight up started with, okay, where do I observe confusion in others, in myself? Where do I observe it? How do I notice it shows up? Do I journal about this? Do I contemplate about this? Do I make art about this? At some point, there might be something you want to express. I'm a big fan of journaling, a big fan of like voice notes and talking to myself if that's helpful. Even just talking to something that I found to be very powerful is like taking the language of Gene Keys outside of the context of Gene Keys and just talking to everyday people about it, just asking a question like, hey, when you get confused, what is that like for you? How do you handle that? What happens in your system? um, that's just my general perspective is like the first step is to build awareness, to just observe. You can become a life scientist of your own human experience. Observation is beautiful. Okay, I think we've got Shauna with her hand raised or their hand raised. Don't want to assume gender. I'm sorry. Hello, Shauna. Oh, we have video for this one. Hi,
Hi.
hello, beautiful.
How are
Good to
you,
see
Liv?
you. Oh, I'm doing fabulous. I'm having a great time. How are you?
I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Um, well, thanks for spending the time to be here today, and thanks for listening. Um, yeah, I wanted to get on the call and really just connect with people and just be more part of the community. I've been with the Gene Keys for about 5 years now, and became a guide last year. So I'm just playing and
Yay.
learning. Yeah, yeah. So, and it feels like my life is taking me in that direction to really bring it into my work more and more. I've recently had some big experiences around letting go of my ego and everything that I know myself to be. And so that's been an interesting play with looking at my gene keys. And I know that today is a very practical session, and I'm a very practical person. So, like I like just like straight shooting things. And then I also love the mystical as well. I was just wondering if you could speak to a couple of keys that I have. So I've got 49.1 is my radiance, and I've got 4.1 as my life's work. And I'd just be open to anything that you have to share around that.
Okay. So I'm going to, for the sake of being as agnostic as possible, so everybody can maybe glean a way in which they can approach their life's work and their radiance. I'm going to
Mhm.
speak from the sphere placement first. And then if we have time, you can ask me maybe a specific question about the specific key. Is that cool with
Sure.
you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you have a strong pull toward your radiance or your life's work more? Because I'll start there.
Um, Look, probably my purpose has been huge, but my radiance has just been flashing at the moment because I'm playing with like what is revolution, what is rebirth, and noticing the reaction patterns. So, but I think the key itself is life purpose that stands out to me most.
Okay, so the purpose is the one at the bottom. You want that
Yeah.
one, or you want life's work? Okay, your purpose. Okay, the purpose key. Okay, this one I found really sticky for me when I got into purpose because we have a lot of conditioned perception of what purpose is and how that translates and how it gets expressed. I think the most rudimentary understanding when I saw purpose was, oh, like my job and what I'm doing in society that I pay taxes for. That's my purpose. That was like the most rudimentary thing that came up. And of course, I saw that and was like, well, that can't be true. Right. And so there's like all these deep, deep layers. Okay, I'm going to take a long shot. Have you seen that movie Soul? It's like a Pixar movie.
Yes, where he drops
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So there's like a moment in that movie where the little soul, there's like one of those little pilot seeds that flutters down like this, right?
Mhm.
And in that moment, it falls in her hand and she suddenly has this like zest for life. It's such a mundane, small, simple experience, which is like
Mhm.
really where Gene Keys thrives. Like you feel the magic of something so mundane. And so when I think about purpose, I really sit with what is the like thing that lights me up about being human because that's actually what my purpose is. That's actually why I poured it in, right? And so
Mhm.
for some people it might be sitting outside in nature and watching this thing really helps me express this gift and experience this city in this moment because what feels most true for me about why I choose to be human is whatever that might be for you. So when you're looking at that key, can you just tell me what your frequency bands are? So the shadow of your purpose is
Is intolerance.
intolerance, and then the gift is
The gift is understanding, and the acidic is forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Okay, beautiful. Intolerance. So, have you noticed where intolerance shows up and kicks you out of a desire to be present?
Yes, all the time.
Do you have any? Do you have any
In
like
this
things?
call. Like, like just yes.
Yes, yes. So from that place, I might ask myself, okay, what is my relationship to intolerance? If intolerance is my lover, am I treating it like I love it?
Mm,
And if the answer is no, then I'm like, okay,
mm,
well, how am I treating it? I'm treating it like
mm,
I ignore it. I get reactive to it. I get frustrated with it. I talk, I talk gossip and smack behind its back about it, right?
mm,
Like
mm,
any opportunity
mm,
I get annoyed that I have this shadow.
mm,
I've even caught myself, going in loops with mine and being like, oh, why do I have this key? This key's the worst key. I want a different key.
mm,
Anything like that. That is an expression of my relationship to that part of me.
mm,
So I've found that that is really helpful in defining where I am now. And it also creates some clarity because all of us have relationships. All of us have desires in relationships. All of us know what it's like to be a victim or a villain in the story of relating.
mm,
And in this particular case, we're being both, right? We're victimizing
mm,
ourselves and we're villainizing ourselves all at the same time.
mm,
And from that place, you might ask, okay, some what ifs, right? Like, what if when I feel intolerance, I express gratitude for it?
mm,
What does that offer me? What can that clear up? And then when you look at the gift aspect of it, I really like to ask myself, like, what actions do I take that feel in alignment with this gift? Even if at the moment I'm feeling intolerant, but I'm
mm,
doing the thing, this particular action itself does express the gift. Where I have a disconnect is my experience of my gift. And my
mm,
experience is why I'm here on earth, like how I'm
mhm,
experiencing life. And I can choose to experience it through my shadow my whole life. I can choose to be resistant. I can choose to fill up my space with all the shadow and feel the intolerance as intensely as I want. And that could be the life that I choose.
mm,
And I can choose literally anything else.
mm,
What might that be? I love the I love the word forgiveness because that one is
mhm,
also just like purpose, full of gunk. And so I'm just kind
mm.
of curious when you hear that, when you play with that inside of yourself, what is your relationship to the word forgiveness?
What is my relationship to it? It's well, to me, in a sense, it's a dissolving of the ego. It's the stopping of the separateness or the point and just a full embodied compassionate love. It's like understanding on steroids, it's like, instead of I can hear what you're saying. It's like I can feel what you're saying, and I have compassion for every single experience that you're ever gonna have or ever have had. And I could have been that, and I can be that, and I am that. And but yeah, it's just that real it's that real compassion, I feel like, on a, but not in the word of like, not in the way of I feel bad or sorry for you. It's like I can feel that I am you, and I have,
Mm,
and yeah, I don't know if what my words are saying makes sense, but to me it's the dissolving of this separateness and this, that like, well, this is my story. Well, I've been here already, and you should be anywhere else but where you are, and I should be anywhere else where I should be, and just letting that all go, letting it all dissolve. Yeah.
that's absolutely beautiful. And again, in my experience of the purpose gene key, that relationship that you have to the city is your purpose. That's like why what you get out of being in that space, like that energy that you were just in, that calling that you just felt of like, no, this is what it is. And that
Mm.
is the your little soul was like, forgiveness is my purpose. Yay! Portal down here. Right. And so inside of that, you have this beautiful opportunity to constantly, forever, for the rest of your life, get to re-experience forgiveness, deepen that experience just through your own intolerance of your intolerance shadow, period. So the practice, in my mind, a huge invitation here would be to really hold space for how could I allow more forgiveness when I can feel the sensation of the intolerance, when I can just feel the like, what would it be to see that these two experiences are not separate? They only exist because they both exist. You only get the experience of forgiveness because you have intolerance. And so intolerance can become this really beautiful way to portal straight through into forgiveness and remember your purpose and feel that and go, oh, this is why I chose to be human. This is why I, Shauna Hawks, want to be here for myself. I want to be here doing this for myself because this is how I feel best human. And then I think you mentioned rebirth in your radiance. That is for me, I love the alchemy of, Shadow Gift City because it's very clear recipe. And I always like to go to I tend to go to the shadow first because I spent so many years broiled in it, and it's a kind of, the energy of it's so obvious. And recognizing that how I relate to that shadow is directly correlated to how much tolerance I have for the city. And to create more tolerance for this, I have to allow more tolerance for this. So how can I shift this relationship and allow the death of the intolerance on repeat every day, in every moment? Like, that to me would be the practice. You're never going to get rid of intolerance. Intolerance isn't going anywhere. Intolerance can't, because otherwise forgiveness doesn't exist. So how can you just become this really beautiful midwife of consistently and constantly just feeling forgiveness by walking through the shadow of intolerance and allowing that rebirth to occur within you constantly. I can't imagine, like, for you and the people you work with, how powerful your aura is already, much less will continue to become as you continue to just allow that transformation alchemically or atomically, literally in your body. Every opportunity that you have, obviously, like, you have a finite amount of attention, so it's like it's going to pop up sometimes, and it's just going to be I'm just going to be irritated with this because I have 700 million other things to do, and that's fine. And and in a moment where you have the spaciousness, you get to really capitalize on and practice. Really, you're always practicing all your keys at the same time because they don't happen in a silo. But in your conscious mind, if you do that connection between the purpose and between the radiance, especially since they're programming partners, you can create this really beautiful dance and wire yourself in such a way that it just starts churning. And it'll just be moving inside you. You'll feel the intolerance and it'll pop without your conscious needing to do the work, even if you are consciously aware of it. I am like so deeply excited that you are like going into this and doing this. Like, I can just feel the energy coming off of you. Your light is very, very visible. And so I can only imagine that this will just be like refinement. I like to say, like, chiseling the mustache hairs in the statue. Like, the shape's there. Now let's go, like, really make it art. Yeah.
Love that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Shauna, for your
Thank you.
vulnerability and for sharing. And I hope that this was helpful.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, wow, that went by very quickly. I had in my mind maybe like half a dozen people would make it up here. First and foremost, I want to thank every single person who has participated in this and has allowed me to hold space. This is something that I absolutely love to do. And I always feel really grateful when anybody spends their time, attention, and presence with me. That is the most valuable asset you have, is where you're putting your energetic focus, and that you chose to spend any with me is a huge, huge gift. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this and you like the interaction, we're hosting retreats. Whether you've been in a retreat before or not, next year we are starting with the activation sequence on January 6th. And we'll do that. And then I believe in May or June, we start the Venus sequence. We're going through all three. We're doing Activation, Venus, and Pearl. If you've never done anything Gene Keys, I highly, highly, highly recommend going through the retreat. We don't typically do the retreats back to back like this. And from what Richard has said, this is the last time he's going to participate in doing it this way. So, and we've added new things. You can buy it all at once and get a discount. I highly recommend doing it. And we're going to have regular Q&A sessions where we can do this kind of work. We can really get into the practicality of it. So you'll have all the beautiful conceptual things. You'll have all the fun little Gene Keys nerdy tools to nerd out on. I love how our courses are laid out. There's so many supplemental things to the book if you haven't gone into anything in depth. And then if you have, as you know, if you've been a long time Gene Keys Voyager, it's infinite, it's infinite, it's infinite. There is no end to the depth with which you can experience everything. I'll be there. I actually haven't gone through the courses in some years, probably since I completed the guides program. So it's been a while. So I'm actually really excited. I'm going to go through all of it alongside with everyone. So it'll be very real and alive for me as well. So there is a link in the webinar chat that Emily just posted. If you're interested in checking out the retreat and possibly joining us, we would absolutely love to have you. Okay, thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, night, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Mwah!